Have you ever wondered why you're doing all the right manifestation steps, but your bank account still looks exactly the same? It's the most frustrating feeling in the world when you're checking all the boxes, but nothing's changing. You're writing your affirmations every morning, you're closing your eyes and trying so hard to feel the wealth. You're even trying to stay positive when those bills show up in the mail. But then you look at your phone, check your balance, and it's still the same low number. It makes you feel like maybe this stuff just doesn't work for you. I know that feeling so well because I lived there for a long time. I used to sit on my floor and cry because I was doing everything the gurus said to do. I was trying to manifest a specific amount of money to pay my rent, and I was doing the visualizations every single night. I'd imagine the money sitting in my hand. I'd imagine the relief of clicking the pay button on my phone, but the money didn't come. In fact, things actually seemed to get a little bit worse for a while, but after a while, I realized something that changed everything for me. I found out there's a huge piece of the puzzle that usually gets left out of the conversation. It's not about how hard you wish or how many times you say I'm rich. There's a specific gap between where you are and where the money is, and if you don't know how to bridge that gap, you'll just keep spinning your wheels forever. I'm going to show you exactly what's been missing so you can finally stop working so hard and start letting the abundance in. When I was at my lowest point, I thought the problem was that I wasn't asking enough. I thought I needed to be louder with my intentions. But the truth is, the universe already heard me the first time I asked. The problem wasn't the asking part. The problem was what happened right after I asked. You see, most of us are really good at wanting things. We're experts at knowing what we don't have. But there's a very strange thing that happens in our brains the moment we decide we want more money. We create a space. On one side, there's the version of us that's worried about the gas bill. On the other side, there's the version of us that has a big savings account. The space in between is what I call the receiving gap. Most people fall right into that gap and they never get out. They spend all their energy trying to jump across it, but they're doing it in a way that actually pushes the money further away. I remember one specific Tuesday morning. I was sitting at my kitchen table with a stack of papers. My bank account had about $12 in it. I was trying to do my morning manifestation practice, but I could feel this heavy, tight feeling in my chest. It felt like a physical weight. I was saying the words, "I'm so grateful for the wealth coming to me," but my body was screaming, "You're a liar." That's when I realized that my vibration wasn't matching my words at all. I was in the gap, and I was filling that gap with pure panic. I started to look at why that panic was there, and I noticed something interesting. Whenever I thought about receiving money, I wasn't actually thinking about the money. I was thinking about the relief of not being broke anymore. Those are two very different things. When you focus on the relief of not being broke, your brain is still stuck on the idea of being broke. You're basically telling the universe that your current reality is the boss of you. This is the part they leave out. They tell you to feel as if, but they don't tell you how to do that when your reality is screaming the opposite. So I started experimenting with a new way of handling that space between my request and the result. I call it the receiving gap protocol. It's not a set of chores you have to do. It's more like a shift in how you carry yourself throughout the day. I stopped trying to force the money to appear. Instead, I started looking at how I was actually blocking it from coming in. I realized that every time a small amount of money did show up, I'd dismiss it. If I found $1 on the street, I'd think, well, that's not the $10,000 I asked for. I was literally telling the universe that small gifts weren't good enough. I was closing the door on the very thing I wanted because it didn't look the way I expected it to look. There's this one thing I did that changed everything almost overnight. It's the most overlooked part of the whole process. I realized that my capacity to hold money was very small. Think of it like a cup. If you have a tiny little espresso cup, you can't fit a whole gallon of water in it. If the universe tried to give me the wealth I was asking for, I would have just spilled it all because I didn't feel safe having it. I was so used to the struggle that the struggle had become my comfort zone. I had to learn how to make my cup bigger before the water could stay inside. I started practicing this by changing how I reacted to things that cost money. Instead of looking at a menu and immediately searching for the cheapest item, I started looking for what I actually wanted to eat. Even if I couldn't afford the expensive steak that day, I would allow myself to want it without the immediate follow-up of, but I can't have it. I just let the desire exist without the judgment. But there was still one big obstacle in my way. It's something that almost everyone does when they're trying to manifest money. We treat the universe like a waiter that we don't trust. Imagine you go to a restaurant and you order a pizza. You don't get up every 2 minutes and go into the kitchen to see if they're actually making it. You don't follow the waiter around and ask if he forgot your order. You just sit there and talk to your friends because you know the pizza is coming. But when it comes to money, we're constantly running into the kitchen. We're constantly checking our bank accounts and wondering where it is. That's when I understood that the gap is actually a test of your nervous system. It's about staying calm while you wait for the meal to arrive. I started to notice that my relationship with money was a lot like a bad relationship with a person. I was needy, I was clingy, I was constantly checking up on it. And just like a person, when you're too clingy, money wants to run away from you. It wants space to breathe. I had to learn how to be okay without it for a second so that it would feel comfortable coming to me. This sounds like a contradiction, right? How can you be okay without money when you need it to live? Well, that's where the real magic happens. I started looking for things in my life that felt like wealth but didn't cost a cent. I'd go for a walk and look at the huge, expensive trees in the park. Those trees don't worry about where their water comes from, they just exist in abundance. I'd sit in the sun and realize that the sun provides an infinite amount of warmth and light for free. I started training my brain to see abundance everywhere else so that it wouldn't be so hyper-focused on the number in my bank account. The moment things really started to shift was when I stopped trying to manifest money and started manifesting the person who has money. There's a big difference. The person who has money doesn't spend their whole day thinking about how to get money. They think about what they're going to create, or who they're going to help, or what they're going to learn. I started asking myself, what would the wealthy version of Luna be doing right now? She wouldn't be sitting here refreshing her banking app. She'd probably be reading a book that inspires her, or she'd be organizing her closet, or she'd be helping a friend. So I started doing those things. I started acting like the person who already had the result. And I don't mean spending money I didn't have. I mean having the mindset of someone who isn't in a state of emergency. Then something weird happened. I got a check in the mail for a refund I didn't even know I was owed. It was only $40, but instead of saying only $40, I celebrated it like it was $1 million. I did a little dance in my kitchen. I said out loud, "Thank you for showing me that money is on its way." I treated that $40 like a sign that the tap was finally starting to turn on. And because I didn't shut it down with my negativity, more started coming. A week later, a client I hadn't heard from in a year reached out for a big project. Then I found an old gift card I'd forgotten about. The momentum was building because I was finally staying out of the gap. One of the most important things you have to understand is that the universe doesn't speak English. It doesn't care about the words you say. It speaks in feelings and frequencies. If you say I'm rich but you feel like you're drowning, the universe only hears the drowning part. You have to find a way to feel the relief before the money arrives. I know that sounds hard, but you can do it by finding one small thing that feels good right now. Maybe it's the taste of your coffee. Maybe it's the way your bed feels at night. If you can stay in that feeling of it's okay, you're opening the door for the money to walk through. I want you to think about your life like a garden. If you plant a seed and then dig it up every hour to see if it's growing, you're going to kill the plant. Manifesting money is the same way. You plant the seed when you set your intention. The time it takes for the plant to grow is the receiving gap. Your only job during that time is to water it with positive expectation and then leave it alone. Don't dig up the seed. Don't worry if you don't see green shoots on day one. Just trust that the soil and the sun are doing their job. I've seen people use this protocol to manifest everything from $100 to a brand new career. It works because it takes the pressure off. It stops the struggle. When you stop struggling, you stop pushing. And when you stop pushing, you can finally receive. It's such a beautiful thing when it starts to happen. You'll feel this lightness in your spirit. You'll stop looking at the price tags first. You'll start feeling like the world is a friendly place that wants to give you things. You might be wondering if there's a limit to how much you can bring in this way. The truth is, the only limit is your own comfort level. If the idea of having $1 million makes you feel nervous or like you wouldn't know what to do, then you're not ready to receive it yet. You have to slowly stretch your comfort zone. Start by feeling comfortable with an extra 100, then an extra 1,000. It's like lifting weights. You don't start with the heaviest one. You build up your strength. I remember when I finally reached the point where I didn't have to check my account before buying groceries. It was the most incredible feeling of freedom, and it didn't come because I worked 10 times harder. It came because I worked 10 times less on the worrying part. I spent that energy on staying in the receiving state instead. I stopped being a hunter chasing after money, and I started being a magnet that just let it arrive. You have to be very careful about who you talk to during this process. Most people are stuck in a lack mindset. They'll tell you that life is hard and you have to grind for every penny. If you listen to them, you'll fall right back into the gap. You have to protect your energy like it's the most valuable thing you own. Surround yourself with stories of people who have succeeded. Read books about abundance. Listen to things that remind you of what's possible. Your environment plays a huge role in whether your receiving gap stays open or closed. I also want to tell you that it's okay if you have bad days. It's okay if you feel a little bit of fear sometimes. You're human. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to catch yourself when you're falling into the gap and gently pull yourself back out. When I feel that old tightness in my chest now, I just take a deep breath and say, I'm safe, and everything I need is coming to me. That simple shift is usually enough to stop the panic from taking over. I've realized that money is just a form of energy. It's like air. There's enough air for everyone to breathe as much as they want. You don't worry that if you take a deep breath, someone else won't have enough. Money works the same way. The more you have, the more you can circulate and help others. When you have a lot of money, you can support businesses you love. You can give to charities, and you can take care of your family. Having money is a good thing, and you're allowed to want it. So many of us were taught that wanting money is greedy or that it's hard to get. We have to unlearn all of those old stories. Those stories are what create the receiving gap in the first place. They are the walls we've built around ourselves. When you start using this protocol, you're basically taking those walls down brick by brick. You're telling yourself and the universe that you're ready to be supported. I want you to try something today. Don't look at your bank account for 24 hours if you can. Instead, spend that time looking for things that represent wealth to you. Maybe it's a beautiful sunset, or a full pantry, or the fact that you have a phone to watch this on. Focus on that feeling of having. Feel how good it is to have things. That feeling is the bridge over the gap. Once you're on that bridge, it's only a matter of time before the physical money catches up to your energy. I've seen this work for so many people who thought they were hopeless cases. I thought I was a hopeless case. But the laws of the universe don't have favorites. They work for everyone who follows them. It doesn't matter where you're starting from. It doesn't matter how much debt you have or what your job is. If you can master the receiving gap, your life will change in ways you can't even imagine right now. You might find that as you do this, other things in your life start to improve too. Your relationships might get better. Your health might improve. That's because abundance isn't just about money. It's a whole way of being. When you open yourself up to receive money, you're opening yourself up to receive all the good things life has to offer. It's a total transformation of your world. I remember a few months after I started this, I was walking through a store and I saw a jacket I really liked. Usually, I would have felt a sting of sadness because I couldn't afford it. But this time, I just looked at it and felt happy that it existed. I thought, that's a beautiful jacket, and someone is going to feel great wearing it. I didn't feel the need to own it right that second to feel worthy. 2 days later, a friend called me and said she was cleaning out her closet and had a jacket she thought would look perfect on me. It was almost identical to the one I'd seen. That's how the universe works when the gap is closed. It finds the fastest, easiest way to bring you joy. The more you practice this, the faster it gets. It's like a muscle. At first, it might feel a little bit clunky or strange. You might feel like you're faking it, but eventually it becomes your natural state. You'll reach a point where you just expect things to work out, and because you expect them to work out, they do. It's a positive cycle that just keeps getting better and better. I want you to be patient with yourself. You've spent years or maybe decades thinking about money in a certain way. You can't expect your entire brain to flip overnight, but you can make the choice right now to start bridging the gap. You can decide that today is the day you stop chasing and start receiving. You can decide that you're worthy of wealth just because you exist. There's something else that happens when you master this. You stop being afraid. Most of our fear comes from the idea that we're not going to have enough. We're afraid of losing our homes or not being able to eat or being judged by others. But when you know how to bridge the receiving gap, that fear disappears. You know that you have the tools to create whatever you need. You're no longer a victim of your circumstances. You're the creator of them. That feeling of safety is the greatest wealth you can ever have. Once you have that, the actual money is just the icing on the cake. It's the fun part that lets you play more in the world, but the real treasure is the peace of mind you get when you stop worrying. I want that for you more than anything. I want you to wake up in the morning and feel excited about the day instead of heavy with stress. I've thought a lot about why some people get this fast while others stay stuck. It usually comes down to whether you're willing to let go of your old story. If you're attached to being the person who never gets a break, you're going to keep seeing that. I like to think of my life like a movie. The first half might have been a struggle, but every great film has a turning point. You're the director, so you get to decide that the second half is about someone who finally found the missing piece. Ask yourself how that wealthy character would act and start being her today. It's funny how we overcomplicate things with big plans. I've seen people work 80 hours a week and stay broke, while others work much less and make millions. The difference is always the internal state. I used to think I had to be perfect to deserve money, but the universe doesn't have a scoreboard. The sun doesn't check if you did your chores before it shines on you. It just shines because that's what it does. You don't have to earn abundance. You were born with it, and you just have to remember how to let it in.